Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the June town meeting. I'm Mike Rambros. Happy to see your faces this morning. We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to make an official welcome to a couple of new residents that have moved in since our last meeting, Mr. and Mrs. Robert and Virginia Becker in apartment 200B. I think their pictures are posted on the bulletin board, so if you can get a look at those and hopefully have a chance to greet them and welcome them. Maria Lasala, our spiritual care coordinator, who normally does our welcome, is off a little bit early for her summer sabbatical. Every year she takes a few months and she does some other things. She's off a little early this year because her daughter is getting married this weekend, and so if you can just say a little prayer for her and her family. I think she sounds pretty busy right now. Maria did ask me to please just recognize and perhaps invite you into a moment of reflection or prayer for our friends who have recently passed. And so I'll read their names and just pause for a moment. Ms. Victoria De Palma, Ms. Mabel Sway, Mr. Henry Pasquarella, and Mrs. Jeannie Freeman, who was a community member in our health center. We just pause and reflect for a moment. Thank you. I am not going to attempt to deliver some eloquent welcome and compete with Maria because I can't, so I'm just simply going to move on. And every month we give space on the agenda for the Residents' Council leadership to report if they have a report, and this month Ms. Weisinger tells me we do not have a report. Thank you. So I am going to call upon, I'm looking for some of my team members. Ken, I'm going to call upon you first.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome, everybody. My name's Ken Sandberg. I'm the Vice President of our Lifestyles Department, and I am going to call upon my team to give their department reports, and then I will follow up at the end, and I have a few reports myself, and I'll take any questions. So the departments coming up will be dining, followed by maintenance, followed by housekeeping, followed by resident services. And each person that's heading that department will call up the next head of that department. So I'm first going to start with Thomas Hudson, who's our Director of Dining. So, Thomas?
Come on, you told me that early. Good morning, everyone. I'm Thomas Hudson, for those who don't know me yet, the Director of Dining Services. I have a very short report today for a couple of reasons. There are some newer members of our lifestyle department who I think need a little more time with you, so I'm going to shorten my time to allow them that convenience. Secondly is tomorrow I'm presenting an update, a memo that I need to send out to all residents here that will include a number of updates and service updates and new things, including a refresh of our venue times. We're looking at what is changing in our service. We have our tasting schedule coming out. We have a very important, some information on some protocols involving pets in our dining venues. And I need an opportunity to capture that in a comprehensive and collective way. So I'm going to save a lot of those tidbits, which I don't have already at this moment, and save it for that report, an update that you will receive tomorrow. When you do receive that, if there are any questions or any concerns, please feel free to call Ken. And no, just kidding. You can call me and we can talk about that. So I'm not gonna stay long with you today unless there was anyone who had a specific burning question. I would take it at this point, but I'm gonna reserve my notes for tomorrow in that update.
Thomas, I'm going to take, not a question, but a compliment to some of the staff that you have now at the bistro. I haven't eaten in the dining room in a while, but I want to tell you they are pleasant, they are very, very helpful. I found them that way, and they contribute greatly to my enjoyment there when they're around.
Well, I thank you for that. I will definitely pass that comment and compliment on to them. Thank you.
Thomas, is your memo tomorrow going to talk about staffing also? Yes?
Yes, a lot of the changes or so on that are involved in that memo are based on staffing.
That was
So,
just my
okay, no
question.
problem.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else?
One very serious, important question I'd like to get on the record. Can you do anything about having cookies more readily available in the bistro? I mean, you used to have great cookies, and they're never there when I go to get them for my husband. I'd like that on the record, please,
Okay.
so that we...
So to answer your question in the way it was asked, yes, I can. I'll definitely look into the cookies. Anything else? It is definitely on the record. All right, so I will take my leave. I'm gonna ask Dan to come up. He's been dying for this moment since the last town meeting, and so I'm gonna let him have some time with you. Have a great day and talk to you soon.
Morning, everybody. First, I wanted to speak a little bit about last month I talked about the new generator that we had installed. That whole project is now complete. Everything passed all the inspections and everything's up to date. We are actually doing an internal test for the first time today. You won't even know that we do it, which is a good thing, but we're excited that all this is done. I was asked to speak a little bit about our cooling system. Now that it's summertime, a couple people have voiced that some of the hallways are cold. A couple people have voiced that some of the hallways are warm. So I wanted to kind of shed some light on, how decisions are made with all of that. We try to stay very consistent seasonally with the changes that we make for the hallways. So in the wintertime, we like it somewhere around 74, 75 degrees. In the summertime, it's somewhere around 72. Those are the goals. And we determine those numbers based on information we receive from our HVAC partners, our contractors that we use, in addition to square footage, sheer square footage. And, on the 6th floor, there's a lot of windows. Main Street, there's a lot of windows. Those areas all, you have to take into consideration those, sources of heat that can come in that can change the temperatures. So 72 degrees is the goal for the summer. We've had a very mild June, which I'm sure you can all agree on. So we're not going to really know the full effects of this 72 degrees until it starts getting consistently hot out, 90-degree days and all of that. So right now, we're trying not to make any changes to it. We're, again, trying to stay consistent with years past on what has worked for us. So 72 is the goal. The closer you are to the vents, obviously, the colder it's going to be. Sometimes you're going to walk down the hall, you're going to feel like it's a few degrees warmer, and then all of a sudden you're going to get blasted with some cold air. And that's normal. A lot of specifically in the north building, you have those big gray vents kind of near the elevator stacks. Those gray vents really cool that whole hallway. So it's meant to blow very cold air. It's typically in the 50s is what is going to come out of all your air conditioners. And that's standard. That's what's going to come out in your apartments as well. A lot of people are under the impression you set your thermostat to 72, you get 72-degree air, and that's how it works. That's actually not how it works. You're going to get 50-degree air or 55, 58, 59, somewhere in the 50s, until that room comes to the temperature you set. You know, if it's 72, if it's 74, whatever you set. So that's why some people feel very cold along those vents. They're very big-time forced air coming out of those. So if you have any questions on that, I'll take questions at the end. I just kind of wanted to shed some light on that first. In addition to that, I wanted to try to take this opportunity to ask for your help again. Last month, I asked for the vents. Make sure your vents stay open, your windows, closed to help for air conditioning season. This month, I'd like to ask your help for what's going down your kitchen drains. Please do not put grease or coffee grounds down your kitchen drains. A lot of people don't know, but the coffee grounds don't really break down. And they get clogged. All your pipes aren't just a vertical pipe. They'll go into a 90-degree pipe, and usually at that bend there, things tend to clog up, and over time, and then you clog everybody above you and yourself, and we have to figure out a way to take care of it. Grease works in that way as well. Grease coagulates in the pipe, and then you, just like an artery, and then you have a big clog from grease. So if you can please not put those things down, that would help us very much. Put them in the trash. I believe those are the main things I really wanted to hit this month. I'll take questions if anybody has any questions. Sure.
Could you explain the reasoning why it's 72 in the summer and 70? It seems like that takes more energy to keep it 72 in the summer and 74 in the winter.
So 72 is the goal temperature based on your thermostat or your sensor, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the spaces you're walking in are 72, because you could be 15 feet away, 20 feet away, and it's actually 74, 75. But in order to even maintain that, you have to set it at a 72 so that the cold air blows enough of the time to keep it in that differential. It's called a differential. So if you set it 72, it might be 74 in a certain area of that space, but you're still within that differential. In the dead of summer, in order to maintain what we've found in the past as a comfortable temperature, 72 has been the goal temperature.
I don't know if I'm the minority or the majority, but it's not just the halls. It's in places like this or the 6th floor where they show the movies. It feels really cold to me.
Mm-hmm.
I find I have to wear a heavy sweater, and I'm a little bit cold here now. So you said a few people think it's too warm.
We get mixed reviews.
I don't know if you took
yeah.
a poll, but I would like to register my vote.
We get mixed reviews in the winter for the same exact way. Sure.
I don't know if this question should come to you, Dan, or not, but I want a disposal. Some people have disposals. I cook a lot. I would like a disposal. How do I get one? Thank you.
The south building cannot have garbage disposals. The north building can. When the south building was built, it was against codes to put the garbage disposals in. So unfortunately, I can't accommodate that request. Anybody else? Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to Barbara in housekeeping.
Good morning, everyone. I have a short report. I'm just start in this position, take everything when Emily's gone. Yes. We start with the windows, cleaning the windows inside for the apartments, and you're gonna see we go to the apartments, 2 housekeepers. One's gonna be in charge to clean all your windows and the window sills and the screens on those windows to prevent the insect come inside. So that's the reason sometimes you see 2 persons in the apartments, is because we're gonna clean the window that way. Why we don't do like we do before and in the past is because when they clean the windows, is you don't have the housekeeper there, all the dust gonna be in the carpet or in the other parts. To prevent that, we clean the windows and the housekeeper go and do the vacuum and everything. That way you have everything clean in one shot. So we start working on that. The outside windows, I don't have a date for that, so I'm working on that right now with the people I have. Other things with the people who have balconies, we try to clean the balconies. If you need it, just let me know and I put a work order and we can take care of that for you. If you have any extra stuff you need for housekeeping, feel free to call me at the office. You have the cell phone number as well, and you can call me or just put a work order and I review and I'm gonna go and talk to you about it and make it happen if this is possible for you, for us, for my department. So that's all I have for now. Any questions? Good. Have a nice day. I'm going to turn to Melissa.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Melissa DeGran, Resident Services Manager, and I oversee the reception and salon. I'm just going to do a quick overview of our reception team. Our reception team is new, gets involved in all departments, helping where necessary. They're learning to know what's going on, which is especially good when new residents, visitors, and vendors enter the campus, as they can answer any questions. The reception team might not be able to answer all questions, but can direct them to the department that can help with your questions. From last meeting, we had Trisha Sullivan start with our reception team. She will be reception from 4 to 8 at the North Desk. We also, most of you might know Santre from dining. She moved over, thank you, Thomas. She moved over from dining, and we're happy to have her from dining to join our resident services team. And that's all I have right now for you. Does anybody have any questions?
Is that 4 to 8 in the morning or?
In the evening. Yep.
What was the question?
The question was it 4 to 8 in the morning or in the evening? No? Oh, yes.
Who is there during setup? In our north side.
North side. Ooh.
Go away. She enters.
Yeah.
Right. What's the story?
You gotta ask the question in the mic.
I would like to know what's the name of the lady or gentleman who are there on the north desk from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock?
So that will change week by week.
Week by week?
Yep.
Why? Why?
Because, so right now we have Santre working Monday through Friday or every other weekend from 8 to 4. We also have Paige working Monday through Friday or every other weekend from 8 to 4. And those
Yes.
two girls typically will switch back and forth from north to south desk.
Okay. Could you tell me what's the reason about switching them off?
Yep. So the reason why is so they could get used to both sections, both campuses. It's good that they are trained in both campuses.
Okay.
And they get to know everybody.
Yes, but you are say two ladies which are
Yep.
switching over. Are they happy to switch over?
As far as I know, yes.
They didn't tell you they are not happy, right?
No, they did not.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, team, for your reports. I have a couple of quick updates, and I'll certainly take any questions after that. So my first update is just to let everybody know, and I mentioned this at the resident council meeting, that we will be having the governor coming to speak here at Whitney Center a week from today. And it is actually a yearly event that we host here at Whitney Center, but actually it's the Hamden Chamber that runs the program. And it's the governor talking to the business community. So we will be having a lot of outside guests in next Thursday morning. We did reserve one table. We have a resident government affairs advisory council. So we did reserve one table for our residents to come to that. So that is next Thursday morning, so you'll be seeing a lot of activity. The other item I want to update you on is our friend that visited us last week, the bear. We know that it was a little scary to have a bear on the campus. However, if you've been watching the news, you're seeing more and more that there are bears around. We've been in contact with the authorities. The main thing that we need to do in this campus is to make sure that there's not the food source for the bears. So if you notice, we removed all the bird feeders. Temporarily, we removed the trash cans, although I've been speaking to Mark. Mark's been really our contact with the DEEP. We're going to be putting those back out either later on today or tomorrow. We've been looking in the woods. We've been walking around to see if we see any tracks. We haven't seen any sightings since last week. So we're going to let you all know you can certainly go back out there. Just be mindful. Just be mindful, especially residents with dogs. You might just want to be very careful, making sure you keep them close to you. They typically are not, the bears typically won't come and attack you at all. They're more afraid of you, but if there's a cub around, you have to be careful. But just be mindful, that's all. Just be very, very mindful when you're out there. If you have any questions or concerns, certainly you can follow back up with me, but we'll continue to monitor the space. So those are the two updates I had. I'll certainly take any questions. Hold on.
About the bird feeders, is there a time that you're thinking, not until the fall, or? what
Yeah,
are you
so that's a great, thanks for bringing that up, Mrs. Johnson. So the recommendation really is not to have the bird seed out from the spring until the fall, and so it would be more of a winter to have the bird seed out. That's been the recommendation. It makes sense, actually. So that's what we're going to be doing going forward.
Can you stress, please, that staff and guests are driving, or sometimes people who are driving, and residents not take off their mask and just throw them on the property? What's them can't keep up with it, the number of masks that we find up near the parking lot and around and in the shrubbery. And I just would like to request that this be a real, come on, folks, join the party, conservation, and just be careful, because this is not good for the birds. It's not good for anybody. And
Thank you, Mrs. Greenbaum. Yeah, certainly, as being part of a good community, we're all part of this community. The residents, the staff, our team members, our members, our customers that come and visit us, and we certainly want the place to look beautiful and people to use the trash cans that will be located around the community. So we'll certainly continue to emphasize that. This being videotaped will certainly emphasize that as well, Mrs. Greenbaum. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yes, Mr. Davis.
It might be helpful to have a trash can or two up forward on the driveways. Those of us who walk the dogs and pick up the trash have a long way to go to drop off the trash.
Yeah.
And there's nothing out there, so everything goes on the ground.
Yeah. We'll evaluate, thank you. We'll evaluate at the locations of our trash bins, so thank you. Okay. Well, very good. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Mike Rambros.
So, hey, Peg, come on up. I'll call upon Peggy Joyce, our Vice President for Clinical Services to give a report.
Good morning, everyone. I promise not to take the majority of time today from the town meeting. I know last time my portion went very long. I don't have a lot to report. We continue to see a little bit of COVID throughout the community, day by day. As of today, we have 4 residents that are quarantined, meaning that they need to stay indoors. They can't leave their apartments. And I would continue to expect that. It's not out of the norm. As we've said for quite some time, even though these viruses are not getting people as seriously ill, they're much more contagious. So good, bad news, more people are getting COVID, but the majority of people are living through the quarantine and coming out fine at the end. We haven't needed to send anybody to the hospital. There's been no deaths. So those are the positives from the news that there continues to be COVID in the community. We currently have no team members infected with COVID, which is always great. And I will tell you, the majority of residents, not everybody, but the majority of residents that are contracting COVID are after travel. So we're going to continue our process that we put in place. That was a very wise decision on our part going back several months ago. If you go anywhere by plane, train, bus, please let us know, because when you come back, the day you return, we want to come visit you and do a COVID test to make sure you didn't bring COVID with you. And then we will test you again on day 3 and 5. So again, that minimizes the outbreak portion of COVID, because if one person gets it and they are with other people, that's why our list of monitoring is much more expansive. So if one person gets infected, what we're seeing is at least 3 to 5 people that might have been exposed. So those individuals are being monitored very carefully to make sure they don't turn positive after that exposure period. Any questions about COVID?
Could you tell us what are the rules for outsiders coming in, either family members to eat or attending something, such as next week's session here or any of the things we have in this auditorium?
Sure. So it's tough. You really have to know who you're inviting in, because we can't monitor the visitors that come in. It's impossible to have that much oversight for the visitors you have. You have to have the conversations with your visitors before you invite them. Have you tested recently? Do you have any symptoms? Are you noticing a cough or fever? And if they say yes to any of those questions, you want to say, let's postpone our visit for a few weeks. You need to know who you're bringing in, because we can't manage it as a community. It's just too much. I know a few residents have asked me, can we test everybody that comes through the door? It's impossible. For testing supplies, we have ample for what we need, but we don't have enough for every visitor that comes here. So you need to know who you're inviting in to minimize it. If your family or friends came to visit you and they call you the next day and say, I just found out I got COVID, please do alert us, because we will put you on that monitoring list. Your exposure doesn't have to be just with your fellow residents here. It can be people on the outside. Or if you go to a party and someone says, oh, by the way, a couple people have COVID, make sure you let us know, because it gives you some peace of mind too that we're testing you. The tests that we use always detect COVID. Yeah, nothing has changed about the kiosks. All your visitors have to sign in when they're supposed to be screened and answer truthfully to those questions. You want them to say no to everything, but only if the answer truly is no. We don't want people coming in that have those symptoms that we're well aware of. So everyone that comes through the door has to sign in at the kiosk. Marilyn?
We're monitoring the people who come to see us. I'm thinking about the meeting tomorrow and all those outside people coming in that we don't have a relationship to.
Mm-hmm.
What happens with all these outside people that come in?
So they're all screened at the door. Because they're one-time visitors, we don't check vaccination cards just like we don't to your visitors, but everybody is screened. So they have to go through the same screening process that your family and friends have to do at the door. They get their temperature taken. They're asked if they have a cough, any respiratory symptoms, do they have a fever. So we do the best we can to make sure we minimize any exposure to the community, because our goal is to keep all of you safe. We don't have a mask rule. As I said last month, if COVID is high, I would wear a mask. If, you kind of use your own judgment. It's really up to your comfort. Right now, our positivity rate is on the decrease, which is great. We're running around 8%, which is really good. We were up to almost 13, 14 just a couple months ago. So the numbers are coming down. But again, if you're of the mindset you really want to protect yourself, 100%, wear a mask, especially in larger groups.
If I could add, the chamber event next week is a breakfast. So they may come in with a mask, or we may ask them to, but it's no good because when they get here, they're going to be eating breakfast.
Right.
I just thought I'd share that detail.
No, we're aware that there are some events where people are not masking, and we're okay with that because we're screening them up front.
Right,
Again,
I
we
just
should be
wanted-
catching everything that's,
Right, I just wanted the residents to know they're here for breakfast.
anything else? I just want to put a plug in for the Healthcare Committee since I'm standing here. Betsy Stern, who is the chairperson, is trying to put together a volunteer program. We're calling it the Good Neighbor Program. She's looking for volunteers, and you don't have to be a member of the Healthcare Committee. That's where she's starting it. But anyone that has a desire or want to help fellow residents across the campus, we're looking for people that will make a phone call to check in on somebody, possibly pay a visit if that's your comfort level, maybe go up to the memory support unit or the health center, just, kind of peer to peer, just to show compassion, kindness to each other. It's not geared towards a certain segment. It's not for people that are isolating. There was some rumors that people that are kind of not coming out of their apartments, those are the people that are getting visits. That's not true. You could let us know if you want to visit, if you would like some companionship, or if you're willing to go out and volunteer some of your time to just meet and greet other residents. One resident I know on the healthcare committee decided she was going to take it upon herself to really look at the people on her floor and really make connections. It's really about engagement and connection. So if you have a desire to do that, please reach out to Betsy Stern. I'm sure she'd appreciate that engagement. She's looking for more volunteers. Anything else for me? Well, I promised I'd be short and sweet. Oh, but I got all the, sure.
Okay, so you are telling us then you have people in quarantine. But I think what is not really clear, if people are in quarantine, which is 4 days, right? 4 or 5?
Yeah, they have to be tested.
Yes.
They have to be quarantined for 5 days.
Okay, but it doesn't mean that those people in quarantine are positive, right? Or does it mean that they are positive?
If you're quarantined, you have COVID.
Okay, but what happens when, say, other people which was sitting on that table also are quarantined?
They shouldn't be out of their apartment if they're on quarantine. If you're with a person that turns positive, you're then on monitoring. If you're being on monitoring because you were exposed, you can go out and about the campus with a mask.
Okay.
But we ask you not to use any of the dining venues just for the reason Herb just mentioned, because you have to take your mask off. And we don't know if you're going to turn positive or not.
Right.
So we're very cautious, and we tell you can walk around with a mask, but you cannot eat in our dining venues until that 5th day of testing.
Okay, so we have now 4 people which are quarantined. This
Correct.
means they tested positive.
Correct.
So all those people had the second booster, or some people didn't have the second booster? They were boosted at
I don't know
times?
off the top of my head, but I can tell you that just about all our residents have had their second booster.
They had the second booster. You still can turn positive.
You can still turn positive. Any of the vaccines from the beginning to the very first one you had all the way through the booster never guaranteed you wouldn't get COVID. What the idea of the booster is, your symptoms and how you progress through that quarantine
not so
are
strong.
so lessened.
Okay.
What the claim they say with the vaccine is you won't, the majority of people will not become seriously ill or need hospitalization.
Okay, good.
That's why
Thank
the
you.
vaccine is so
Yeah.
important.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Peg. Michelle, shall I come on up? Michelle Pandolfi is our Vice President for Enrichment Services and Executive Director of our Thrive at Home program.
Good morning, everyone. I have a few updates. Mike told you about Maria, so she'll be gone through the middle of August. But if anyone is in need of a call from Maria, just reach out to your liaison. They know how to get in touch with her, and she'll be happy to have a conversation with you. She's kind of going to be the on-call chaplain for the summer as well. Robert would like me to announce that we have a new 3-week series that is starting July 7th. It's called Dance for PD. You may have seen some of these announcements around. It's not specifically for anybody who has Parkinson's disease. It's really open to one and all. There's no prior dance experience needed, but a good way to get involved and to move a little bit. So there's no registration required. Just come if you're interested. And then finally, the community resource team has been working on the quick reference and emergency contacts and all the important phone numbers that you need to have. So you may have magnets that look like this or this, right? And if for those of us who have the refrigerators that don't take magnets anymore, they're kind of tucked behind everything. So what we're going to be doing is going around to everyone and giving you a sheet that looks like this. So it has all the important phone numbers that you have. They're in alphabetical order. It gives you times that they're open, anything that you need to know. It'll come in this protective sheet, and then we're asking all of you to post that inside your cabinet, in one of your kitchen cabinets. This way, if any of these phone numbers change or any information needs to be added, it'll be very easy for us just to take this sheet out and replace it with something new. Okay, and it cleans up your refrigerator a little bit too. Any questions for me? All right, have a great day.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. We're moving so quickly. It's great. Let me see, is Karen? Karen's not here. Okay, all right. Sean, just in time, come on up. So I'm gonna have Sean O'Connor, our Vice President for Marketing, come on up and give us a report on marketing.
All right, that was good timing. So I'll start with some of the usual stuff. We have 20 apartments that are available for reservation, so anybody keeping track, we started the year around 23, 24, we're down to 20. About 60% of those are one-bedroom and studio apartments. And again, remember, we're looking at combining those. We have 2 right now in process where we're combining to reduce the number of one-bedroom apartments that we have on the campus so that we have more desirable inventory. About 40% are 2 bedrooms, and we have 13 in the north building, and we have another 7 in the south. Releases remain higher than projected for the year. There are currently 7 apartments that are reserved, of which 4 are approved and 3 are going through the approval process. We've moved in 3 new residents since our last town hall, and the team has taken 3 new reservations since our last town hall. So that's new folks who have said, yes, I want that apartment. Our occupancy is averaging 88%, so we've been hovering. We started the year around 86, 87. We keep building our way up, but the releases keep knocking us back. To date, we have moved in 15 residents. 7 have moved into the north building, 8 have moved into the south building. We currently are 2 apartment sales ahead of our budget. So we were supposed to have 8 sales by this time, and we are currently at 10 sales. Advertising and events continue to do well. And I'm assuming that Michelle talked about Thrive. Oh, you didn't? Well, you can correct me, because I believe we have 77 total members. 76, okay. So we have 76 total members. We added a new member, 1 member this month, and we have 3 applications that are out and about. So that is the marketing and sales summary. Any questions that people have?
Just out of curiosity, what's the number of apartments in each building?
There's 88 in the south and there's 230 total. So 88 less 230. And so I'll pull out hey, come on, there's got to be a mathematician out there. What is it, 142? Thank you. So 142 and 88. Yeah. Yeah, there's 230 in total. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Sean. Jeff, do you have a report? So Jeff is our Vice President for Finance. He's going to give us an update on how we're doing financially.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Jeff Devaney, Vice President of Finance. On the financial front, as of the end of May, year-to-date, our revenue's down a little bit. As Sean said, our releases are ahead of budget, so that's affected our revenue some, and our expenses are slightly over, about 2% over for year-to-date, mostly due to overtime, due to staffing challenges. So overall, we're running a little under budget on that, but on the entry fees, we're actually above budget. We're doing quite well, so everything is going well right now. In the finance department, we're going through an system upgrade right now. We're right in the midst of it right now. So the next couple of weeks, we should be through that. And that will mostly internally help us. You won't see any changes really on your end till the fall when we put in point-click care. Also, tomorrow is Lisa Borgnine's last day. She was a health center biller. We're going to engage a remote consultant to replace her. So if you have any questions on your health care bills, go see Ann Matiste. She'll handle that for you. That's all I have for today. Anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Wow, so efficient today. So that wraps up all the reports that we had lined up for this morning. What I'd like to do is just make a couple comments on our workforce. So Karen Lushinks, our Vice President for Employee Services, is not here today. But as we've mentioned the last couple of meetings, that workforce is one of our primary focus areas this year. We continue to face workforce challenges, primarily in the areas of nurses, registered nurses, and certified nurses' aides. And frankly, all positions continue to be a challenge. So we are continuing the fight. We have stepped up our recruitment process, and we're working on focusing on retention, on creating a better experience for all of our employees. We're seeing a little bit, of trending in terms of employees that are coming in that leave more quickly than they have in the past. So we're seeing a little bit higher turnover on the front end of employment. And these are all concerning matters. And so we have to figure out, how our recruitment process is or is not working, and as well as how our retention efforts are continuing to work. And so part of that retention effort is to upgrade the skill set of all of our management team, and we reported on that last month, and we continue down that path. And we're already seeing some significant changes, some good improvement in terms of our supervisors, managers, directors, vice presidents. All of us are improving professionally. We're developing better relationships with one another and with our frontline service team members, which is critically important. That's ultimately what we're looking to do, because they're the ones providing all the services. They're the ones, doing all the work. And so we want to make sure that they are well supported. They feel connected to the organization. They feel like they belong to an effort bigger than themselves. And therefore, their contributions are compelled rather than obligated, if that makes sense. So we continue to work on that front. A couple other quick things. There are there are a couple of task forces you may or may not know about that, that have sort of come off of our Quality of Life Committee, which is a board committee that there's a few residents, there's board members, and some community members on that committee. And those two task forces are a technology task force, which is really helping us, management, to understand better the customer perspective, resident, private home members, and just more broadly, the consumer mindset around technology, its adoption, and how we should focus our time in terms of front-facing or customer-facing technology. So that task force has been helping us just sort of prioritize and map out some of the work that we're doing, and that continues to move forward. The other one is the Cultural Competency Task Force. Some of you might be familiar with this. We've been doing quite a bit of work trying to elevate our cultural competency or cultural humility. And this involves all aspects of diversity, equity, inclusion. Those are buzzwords that are being used now, really frankly, as a fine-tuned understanding of what it means to be, ultimately, to be respectful to one another and build community together. And so we're continuing to move down this path, and there are several things that have been put in place, one of which is a getting to know you interview process. It's a video interview that several of our team members have taken on as a project, and along with some residents. And the idea is that we want to do on-screen interviews, recorded interviews of residents and staff so that we start to get to know one another a little bit better. And we're looking for volunteers to do those interviews, to volunteer to sit and be interviewed, as well as maybe to even interview one another or interview staff. And so it's really wide open. And so I just want to make a pitch for that work that we're doing, because I think we have 5 or so done. We're looking for another 5 so that we have 10, and we're going to air those on Channel 102 and I think on our YouTube channel and so on. And hopefully that picks up some steam, and we're able to develop a whole library of interviews that will be available for us all, so we can start to get to know one another a little better. And there are other sorts of programs and efforts that are happening, and we'll be talking more about that. One of the ways that we're communicating in this is through an employee newsletter that Felicia Green has taken up and is starting to publish. And some residents have asked to get copies of that, so we're going to figure out, how to distribute that, probably electronically. But we may have, a few copies available, hard copies available as well. But that will also help for us as a community to continue to get to know one another, especially from, resident to team member. I recently had a conversation with some residents, and we talked about sort of what it means, what it looks like to be happy. And this is not my area of expertise, so I don't want to pretend I know anything about it, but rather than just an observation that I'm finding in my conversations with you all, that those of us who are able to adapt to our changing circumstance tend to be happier. I don't know if that's a novel idea, probably not, right? But here's the thing, adapting in a community like this takes all of us. It's one thing to adapt to our own aging, maybe being accepting of the fact that I now need a cane where I didn't need one before, or I might have to use a wheelchair where I didn't need one before, or need some extra help getting dressed in the mornings, whatever it might be. These are all methods to enable us to continue to adapt as we age, as we might grow more frail. We can develop a type of interdependence, right, that allows us to continue to be as dependent as possible, as independent as possible. So we use these services, and that's part of adapting. Another part of adapting, specifically in a community like this, is to respect one another's aging, and the fact that each one of us are sort of adapting or coping with aging at a different pace. We don't all, go run the race at the same pace. And therefore, we need to be respectful and thoughtful of that. And I'll just, and I'm not scolding anyone, but let me just say, it shows up in the littlest, most subtle ways. When we don't take the microphone to ask a question, there are lots of people that aren't going to hear us. We might get frustrated because, I don't need the microphone. I have a loud voice. I can broadcast my voice. Well, there are people in the room that can't hear. Therefore, we ask that we be respectful of one another. Hold your question, take the microphone. That's all. It bothers me greatly that we're seeing masks on the parking lot grounds. That's just a respect thing. And unfortunately, we're at a stage where we're not going to teach any driver, how to respect property or how to respect the community that they're in. My hope is that our employees and our residents and hopefully our family members, right, respect our community enough not to, drop those masks. And we can put out garbage cans. We can, champion the cause for a cleaner environment. But the reality is, unless we actually respect one another and respect the place that we're in, all we're doing is, we're going to be like clanging cymbals in the ears of those who don't respect. So I would encourage us all to talk to one another, talk to our family members, our visitors, right? And just let them know what kind of community we're trying to establish. Okay, we aspire to a community where all of us feel connected, feel a sense of belonging to something that is special, and therefore want to contribute our time and our energy to one another and to the community. Two more things. Over the course of the next period of time, months, maybe over the next year and a half, you're going to be witness to some organizational structure changes. And this is not new for us. I arrived here in February of 2005, and the organization hasn't stopped changing. Each year, we seem to have a different structure. We find a different approach that we want to try in terms of what the management structure looks like, what the department structures look like. And as we continue to develop the professional skill sets of leadership, management, and coaching for all of our team members, we're recognizing that we might not be organized around the work that we do, but rather we tend to work around the organization that we've created. That may sound a little odd, but the reality is we've created a structure here over the past 40 plus years, and it's evolved, but we find ourselves doing things harder or doing things in a more circuitous fashion because we haven't taken the time to rearrange the structure around the work. And so therefore, you will be seeing some changes, and it might feel disconcerting to you. That's one of the reasons we have the receptionist swapping. Because in the past, they grew very territorial about this is my building's the north building or my building's the south building. And then when we needed flexibility, it wasn't there, right? They had no idea what the sort of nuances of the other building was about. That's why we have to do these things. And I understand that as you're home, you get attached emotionally to staff, to our team members. I get it. And our goal isn't to continually change. But in these times of workforce challenges, you're going to see those changes. I also heard some comments about housekeepers. I seem to have a different one every other week or whatever it is. And that might happen from time to time, especially in the current conditions. But as our workforce stabilizes, you should see less of that, but it won't go away completely because we want to be cross-trained. We want to be flexible and nimble in our workforce so that we can adapt to your changing needs and your wishes. So that's just sort of a heads up that you'll see some changes. We'll try to be as clear as to why we're changing. We just might try some things that are different, just for the sake of experimenting. And sometimes it'll be uncomfortable, but just know that our goal is always to get to that place where we all feel connected and belonging to this community. Okay? Any questions? Okay. So I see two hands. Herb?
About the interviews, I don't remember who I spoke to where I agreed to be interviewed, to be an interviewee, and this was several months ago. So who do I contact to find out where I am on that list?
You know what? It's probably Felicia, but I'll follow up with Felicia and we'll contact you.
Mike?
Yes.
How much personal interviewing is done after they send in their written responses to whatever it is that, I've never seen one of the applications. I suppose I could go online and pull it up. But how much personal one-on-one is there with an individual that calls up and sends in his paperwork?
So I'll just repeat the question. How much personal one-on-one interviewing is there for an applicant, a job applicant here at Witness Center once we get their application? It can be anywhere from 2 to 4, maybe even more, in-person interviews. So we get an application. There's typically a phone call, a screening that we do there. There's typically an online screening tool that we use as well to help us understand sort of, the potential fit for the person. And then we'll call them in, and it'll usually be an additional 1 or 2 personal interviews. It might be even more depending on the position. In some cases, we've had team members, line staff interview, other line staff or other supervisor applicants, that sort of thing. So it's pretty extensive without being impractical, because the challenge on the flip side of that is to balance the timing.
Now, I understand that, and you gave me an answer that was more complete, actually. I didn't realize how much you did, because sometimes there's just a certain question or two could tell you a lot.
Yeah.
About a person, how they respond when their Aunt Tilly or their somebody else is pushing or helping them out with the interview. Yeah.
Carol, one of the questions that I love to get an answer to is why you choose to do what you do. So what is your passion? What got you into this line of work in the first place? Now, I'm not involved in any frontline interviews, but in most cases, I get to meet new employees at our orientation, at our Compass program, and I get to ask that question, and I can see it. There's probably a good, no one bats 1,000, right? So I would say about 80% or so of the folks that I ask that question to give me an answer that makes me feel like, great, this is going to be a good fit. The other, 15, 20%, not so much. And so I expect we're going to get some wash out.
I used to have a pet, 1 or 2, that told me a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks. Yes.
Excuse me, Mike, a couple items. Number one, you're talking about happiness and how it affects people's lives. I'm almost finishing a book called Breaking the Age Code by a woman named Becca Levy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We know Becca.
Yeah. It talks about the attitude that people have towards aging. And she starts off by saying something like, use 5 words that to you describes aging. And then she goes on to say that people who have happy 5 words tend to live better, and vice versa. The other, I would strongly recommend the book. I think our library ought to get a couple copies of it. The second thing is you talk about the trash around the place. My wife and I tend to walk around the campus every day. And to say that people are pigs is an insult to pigs. The stuff that you see on the ground around the campus, and our people do a good job of cleaning up, I know that. But on the sidewalk outside the building, it is disgusting.
Yeah.
The number of masks that are there, empty bottles that people throw out of cars, it's just very upsetting to see it on such a lovely place as this.
Yeah, I hear you. And, you know, as we, again, for us to teach manners from this place is difficult. As we continue to meet with our legislative counselors and town officials, elected officials, you know, that's something we might be able to raise in a sensitive way, because it's not, you know, it's not necessarily that they staff to go around and pick up after the residents of Hamden either, right? And so,
if you walk past Aces, and there's a wooded area along there, the newest piece of garbage that's in there is a toilet. Someone actually threw a toilet into the woods. I mean,
I know, you can't fathom it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what goes through people's heads? I've seen baby strollers left abandoned on the side of the street here. I mean, it's absurd. I hear you. You know, the second to last thing I was going to mention is that we are part of the restructuring thinking that we're doing involves the establishment of an intentional volunteer program. Now, you residents, and actually some of our Thrive at Home members are great volunteers internally here on campus at Whitney Center with all the committees and all the work that you all do. And I so appreciate all of it. And as well as out in the broader community. What we don't have is a coordinated effort that is good at finding opportunity for volunteers and then matching people with those opportunities. And so we're looking at a more structured way of doing that. And I think there are many things here on campus that could be improved through that function. One of which could be a periodic sort of where we take it upon ourselves as volunteers to do a cleanup and so on. I know on Earth Day we typically do something like that. This year I wasn't able to. I participated a couple times in the past. I wasn't able to do it this year, but maybe that's something we can take a look at to sort of just a general pickup of the grounds. So, Lynn?
I have to mention that there are or have been 2 cleanup volunteers, Rebecca Hetherington and
Yes.
Connie Topman. Connie
Yes.
Topman discovered the sidewalk beyond Aces, which is the reason you can walk to
He
its
cut
end.
it back, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for recognizing that. Yeah, they've been steadfast in that. Okay. So I think that about wraps it up. The last thing I'll say is next town meeting. Oh, yes, Jerry.
Just a quick announcement. The Garden Committee is hosting a garden party on Saturday, 2:30 to 3:30. The gardens are looking great. Pat has done a wonderful job helping us out, and I encourage you all to come and have a little snack.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Susie. We'll get you a microphone.
Oh, thank you. Actually, this is for Raphael, please.
Oh, okay.
Could we get an update on the fabulous digital screens that are being put up?
Thank you. So I hope everyone's noticed. If you haven't, at least take a look just outside the doors here. We've got a wonderful 75-inch screen that's welcoming everyone to town meeting this morning. So we have 3 of the 4 screens installed. The remaining screen will go in the bistro. We're looking to start that construction any day now. Right, Thomas? That was today. We're looking to start that construction today. Right now, we just have some sort of general announcements floating on them about the the K4 community application. And what the K4 community app is, it's going to be hopefully one of the primary vehicles to get information to you, whether it's through digital signage, whether it's through sort of an enhanced Channel 102, an additional Channel 101 that we're looking to implement, or the resident and family app through your smart device, cell phone, or tablet. You can access what's going on in the community, events. You can choose to select that you're going to attend an event so we know ahead of time. You can put work orders in through the app. You could check how many points, your points balance for dining you have remaining, all through the app. So currently we have, thank you for this. So currently we have Kurt Kolodnia, and we thank you. He's been given early access to the app, and he's been toying around in there and giving us some insight. But we're looking for a few more voices. So if you are interested in getting an early look, the only criteria is that you have a smartphone or a tablet. And feel free to come see me right after this. We'll get your name down. I'm sorry? Yeah, you could use a PC eventually, but yeah, but just early on, first look. But yes, yeah, ultimately you could access this platform through a computer as well. But come see me if you're interested in checking it out and giving us some feedback. We certainly welcome that. I'm sorry, I was just thinking if there's anything else while I'm up here to update you on. We're still, the autonomous vehicle. So we talked last month, we were having some challenges with the manufacturer vendor. They wanted to charge us for the trial, but we have since agreed on some terms, and we will trial the system, the vehicle, at no charge. They are going to come out in July and begin mapping the campus, like a 3D scan, and we are looking to trial one vehicle in August. And the trial will be, the vehicle will travel between the south reception desk and the bistro, just for the trial, with maybe 2 or 3 points where it might stop along the way. We want to make sure that it meets our criteria, that someone could get on the vehicle safely, buckle their seatbelt, store a walker if needed, get to a specific location, and safely get off. That's what we want to trial initially. And if that meets, if that checks all those boxes, then we'll expand, and we'll look to maybe expand the route, see how it travels to other areas, maybe a second unit, not sure yet. But we want to just make sure that at least those 4 or 5 things work and work perfectly. So you'll see that, you'll see that come August. And Jeff mentioned, just so you know kind of what's going on behind the scenes, we are upgrading to a new cost accounting system. We are almost complete. And though a lot of it is behind the scenes, right, in the end, we perform upgrades, we bring new technologies in for a reason. It's typically to be able to get more information in your hands, get information in our team members' hands, have ways to look at reporting, dashboards, all those things that we can monitor where we're at, outcomes. So the cost accounting system, though it is a lot of behind the scenes activity there, our hope is that with the integration with that system and the new electronic medical record system, the new billing system, we're also deploying that your statements are going to look better. You're going to get more detail, and it's going to provide you the kind of data information that you're looking for in a statement. We are also looking to implement a new software for our marketing team so that they can manage leads, referrals. We'll be looking to implement a new medical record system for our personal options teams, for Thrive, our Thrive membership. And I'm missing a big one. Can't remember it, but we're doing a lot, and all of this will be done before this year is over. So a lot going on, and in the end, it's ultimately to get you the information, meaningful information that you want, and data, that insight that we need to run our business. Thank you. Thank you. No other questions? Comments? Thanks.
Just for the record, Raf said he didn't have a report to do today, so I didn't include him in the agenda. Thanks. Okay, that's it. So thank you very much. Next month, the town meeting is on, I believe, July 28th. I will not be here. I'll be on vacation, but we'll have the meeting nonetheless. Thanks. Have a great day.